Happy Monday, y'all. Jason here. I just want to say hello. It's Monday night. My local team, the Minnesota Vikings, are in Chicago to take on, or actually, they're taking on the Bears tonight. So hopefully, we can all enjoy that game. Again, my team is actually the Denver Broncos, but I do live in Minnesota. So tonight, Andy Dalton is the most famous quarterback to ever come from the city of Katy, Texas, which is actually my hometown. And But what if I told you that he's not the best quarterback to ever come out of that city, and particularly out of the Katy Tiger High School program? Now, and you're like, how can that possibly be? Well, in case you haven't noticed, I have changed the name of this channel to What If I Told You. The reason for that was pretty simple. This channel just needs a little bit more of a catchy title to it, or name to it, and so that's what I'm going to go with. But so, what if I told you that Andy Dalton is not the best quarterback to ever come from the city of Katy, Texas? This is the story of Bo Levi Mitchell, the actual best quarterback to ever come from the Katy Tiger High School program in particular. The Katy High School program has won 8 state championships, most of them on the 6A level in history. But Andy Dalton won exactly none of those. Mitchell won 2 of them. And so, this is the long story of how Bo Levi Mitchell became the best quarterback out of Katy High School and the Katy region and the Katy ISD in particular. And why he's the best from there, even though you've likely never heard of him. So here's the story. Bo Levi Mitchell, of course, is a native of Katy. And he went to Katy High School, played for the Tigers. Was a 4-year starter. And won the state championship twice. Which is something that, Dalton in the championship games went 0 for 2. Whereas Mitchell went 2 for 2. I say, like, okay, who is this guy? And we're going to start with where he went after he graduated from TXis. Mitchell did get offers and wound up at SMU, Southern Methodist University, the SMU Mustangs. However, he did get injured before his sophomore season. And the head coach at the time, June Jones, in his infinite wisdom, benched Mitchell and started a guy by the name of Kyle Padron, who, again, none of us have ever heard of, really before or since. So Mitchell did what any reasonable man would have done in that situation. He transferred out. And he transferred down a level. And he transferred to Cheney, Washington, which is outside of Spokane, to a school called Eastern Washington University. Eastern Washington was an FCS program, or a Division I AA program at the time. Still is. Boise State has the blue turf. Washington State has the red turf. So they kind of copied Boise State on that one. And Mitchell came into EWU, of course, as the third stringer. But you'll see this as a recurring theme throughout his career. Mitchell came in and believed that he was the best quarterback on the roster and set out to prove it, and eventually did. He would become a 2-year starter. And he started and did win a national championship at EWU, which of course Dalton never did, although Dalton had a very significant game in the Rose Bowl. Played for TCU and beat Wisconsin. But Mitchell won a national championship on the FCS level. Graduated. At the time, he won the national championship, and then North Dakota State went on its run of 5 straight championships. So before that, Mitchell was the last quarterback to beat NDSU in an FCS playoff game. This is all going on in the early 1990s. Mitchell's best receiver at Eastern Washington University is a guy who I think you may have heard of before. A little guy by the name of Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp played for Eastern Washington on the national championship team, and of course went on to become famous Super Bowl champion for the LA Rams. Now Mitchell is 6'1", which in the NFL is an obstacle. They're looking for a quarterback, a few inches taller than that. Dalton, of course, got drafted and played for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he was known as the Red Rifle at 6'4", which is more of what NFL teams were and are still looking for at the quarterback position. Now, some people have been able to buck those odds and be about 6'1" and succeed heavily in the NFL. Jalen Hurts is the most prominent example I can think of. Hurts came from the same region. Katy, of course, is on the west side of Houston. Hurts is from Humble, which is to the north of Houston. It's spelled Humble, but the H is silent. And, of course, Hurts went on to greatness at Alabama and with the Philadelphia Eagles. But back to Mitchell. Mitchell went undrafted because he was of his height. Obviously, having Cooper Kupp at Eastern Washington didn't hurt, but there's no question that he was an NFL talent. And so, he did what Colin Kaepernick wouldn't, and that's go to the Canadian Football League. And he signed with the Calgary Stampeders. And same situation, signed as a third stringer, undrafted in the NFL. Looked at the roster, said, I'm better than all these guys. In one swift year, Mitchell had the starting job. And actually, I got my times wrong on this one. By the time Mitchell did this, it was around 2005. By the time he reached Calgary. And won the starting job, came out of nowhere, took it, and won 2 Grey Cups in Calgary. Dalton has never won a playoff game in the NFL. Went to the playoffs 5 straight years with the Cincinnati Bengals, did not win a single game. Mitchell, in the meanwhile, won 2 championships in Canada. 2 for the Stampeders. This is also the same team that Doug Flutie went to and won multiple championships with Grey Cups with there. And up the road you have the Edmonton, then the Edmonton Eskimos, now the Edmonton Elks. That's where Warren Moon went and won 5 championships after going undrafted in the NFL. And so, Mitchell, being 6'1", went to Calgary, won 2 titles. Was Grey Cup MVP both games, and won the MVP award 4 times. Fast forward to around 2020. And meanwhile, he's never had a chance in the NFL. Here comes the Minnesota Vikings calling to bring him in for a workout. Worked out, and by all accounts, did incredibly well. But the reason why he never signed with the Vikings can be summed up in 2 words, and that's Kirk Cousins. Cousins was very aware of Mitchell's record in both FCS football and the CFL, with winning starting jobs from the bottom of the depth chart. Cousins at the time was a couple years away from free agency, but he still did not want some Canadian understudy stealing his job. So he threatened to hold out on the Vikings if they signed Mitchell. I have no idea what the outcome on that would have been, but anyway, the Vikings caved. They let Mitchell go without signing him. Meanwhile, in 2021, he was a free agent in the CFL. And Calgary decided that he was at the end of his rope physically, which, I mean, you take a beating in Canadian football every much as you do in American football. And so Mitchell was traded to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, where he still is to this day, by the way. He hasn't won a Grey Cup since because the team has never been that good around him. He hasn't won an MVP award, but he has garnered serious consideration twice. As in, got enough votes to be basically the runner-up in the voting. And so we have Bo Levi Mitchell now closing in on 40 years old. Still slinging it in Canada. Still looking to see if he can get that third Grey Cup. Which is he has far more in hardware than Andy Dalton has ever won. And the reason is that Bo Levi Mitchell is a single man force of nature, who takes starting jobs in situations where he is not intended to, which actually works to his detriment as far as getting a shot in the NFL is concerned, because one overpriced and overpaid quarterback by the name of Kirk Cousins blocked him. And Cousins got this franchise to fold like a wet paper doll. Of course, the rest is history, and in 2024, he was traded to the Atlanta Falcons because the Vikings didn't want to pay even more extravagant money than they already had in the years prior. So Cousins, whose agent, by the way, I think belongs in the Hall of Fame, because this is a guy who has wrangled extensive, massive contract extensions, worked on I can't remember what those contracts are called, but where he worked on 1-year contracts, which were basically franchise tags. That's what they're called. Franchise tags. He worked on 2 of them in Washington and eventually inked his long-term extension there. Became a free agent. His agent then got him another monstrosity of a deal. Fully guaranteed $30+ million a year, which would be a bargain these days. And now he found a bigger sucker in Atlanta to trade for him and give him an even bigger deal. Like I said, put this man's agent in the freaking Hall of Fame. But this is the man who blocked Bo Levi Mitchell from ever getting an actual NFL chance with the best opportunity that he had with the Minnesota Vikings in 2020 and 2021. But that is the career path so far. It's not over yet, but so far, Bo Levi Mitchell, the best quarterback to ever come out of Katy, Texas, and it's not Andy Dalton. So anyway, guys, this was a fun one. Enjoy your Monday Night Football tonight. And tomorrow, it'll be another edition of What If I Told You. I also have to say that the book reached a major milestone today. Of course, the previous name of this channel is End This Epidemic. I don't think that's what I'm going to go with for the title of this book. I think the title of my book is going to actually simply called, at this point, the title I'm thinking of tentatively at this point is Stop Simping and Start Winning. And in this particular book, I have written the subjects of all the chapters, and I have written the talking points in each chapter. Now it's just a matter of writing that all out into copy. So that I reached that step today. So this book is coming. I don't know. I mean, God knows if it's meant to be a smashing success. But I think I have a very important message for everybody, and I think it will help with the vicious gender divide right now that we have between men and women, single men and single women in this country, and possibly even the Western world and North America. So God willing, it will be a decent success of a book. But if not, then I think I've put my commitment and my heart into this message. So yeah, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, homies.